Hello, everyone, and welcome to another version of How to Write Stuff Better. Today, we're going to talk about collaboration and co-writing. Now, writing is a solitary art, but collaborative writing can lighten the load on everybody involved. Now, according to Pen and Parent website, collaboration requires thoughtful, regular communication, conflict resolution skills, and a healthy dose of self-awareness. But the benefits can be immense. You're probably asking me, how? Well, you don't have to write all the words. Somebody else can write the words. You don't even have to write what's next. Somebody else can do that too. So working as a team can ignite your writing spark. Some groups have one person write the first draft and the next person on the team writes the second draft. Or one person on the team can write the first two drafts and the second person on the team can just do the revisions. It's how you guys work it out. You gotta have a plan though. Sometimes one person can write all the steamy parts of the story and the other person writes everything around the story. Many writers enjoy fashioning the first draft, but then it's time for the revisions and bye-bye fun. Another important tip on collaborating is having a partner who keeps you accountable. So on the days you don't feel like writing, perhaps your partner has written some stuff. I'm going to give you a heads up on what to dread about collaborating or co-writing. You have got to talk about beforehand who will be in charge of social media, like blogging or Facebook, etc. Who's going to be in charge of submitting the reviews? Who's going to be in charge of ordering the champagne when the good reviews start pouring in? Everybody's not going to like your book, and a collaborator will have different kinds of ideas that you have. That's how you vet somebody. You don't just say, "Hey, JoAnn, I've read your books. Can you and I write something about microbiology together?" No, because I don't know anything about microbiology. I know everything about the Chicago White Sox, and I certainly know about photography, but microbiology, nope. See, in collaboration, one can be creative while the other can be revisionist. That's a collaboration. Here are some examples of authors who chose to use a collaborator. Best-selling author James Patterson has been open about hiring writers, but usually someone with some published credits, and he gives them a lengthy treatment. Remember treatments? And treatments are typically detailed. With James Patterson, they're about 60 to 80 pages, and Patterson gives that to a particular writer, and then the intense back and forth begins. Stephen King and Peter Straub collaborated on The Talisman. And both of these men were already best-selling authors before they connected. Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child wrote the Pendergast series. One was a former book editor and the other was a historian. They combined their interests to create an FBI agent, a modern-day Sherlock Holmes. Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett collaborated on Good Omens, and both are masters of a particular kind of cockeyed British fantasy. And then, of course, with some help from Deep Throat, one of the most famous collaborations of all time is between Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, who penned All the President's Men. Now, this book depicted the Watergate scandal, which compelled President Nixon to resign. Collaboration is beautiful and beneficial for two like-minded people with the same kind of bent, but they don't have to be twins. One can have a more editing type of background, while the other may have a more creative kind of knowledge. But trust has to be a component. You will be up against these events as a collaborator, and number one is undoubtedly personality. You got to have personalities that connect. They might say opposites attract, but for how long? Other problems will occur. Competition between partners, read egos. Lack of information and experience, and lack of resources, read money, especially at the decision-making stage. One or both parties might be resistant to change. A cultural mismatch could occur between writers, including needing more consistency and clarity on roles and responsibilities. Remember, you have to have a plan. The collaboration is going to take longer than you ever expected. Because 2 or 3 writers are writing together, you'd think it would be quick. Nah, you're mistaken. Because of all these things I just mentioned, if you only pay attention to one thing I just listed, pay attention to trust. You have to trust your fellow writers, and you have to believe in yourself. I can't get any clearer. Whether you call it an outline, a rough idea, or a rough draft, having a plan will be instrumental in ensuring all the collaborators are on the same page. And having a plan is going to reduce confusion and will overcome egomaniacal tendencies. And when we talk about outlining a book has a plan. It's setting up your characters. It has muddled middle filtered out, and it has an ending that makes sense to the beginning of the story. Okay, and then we talk about royalties. Sometimes when I write, I have a person that writes uncomfortable passages that I cannot write, like love or romance. Yuck. It's just not me. But that person does it, and I say, okay, what's the stipend? Sometimes he'll say, just put me in the acknowledgments. I go, are you sure? And he'll say, yeah. Or he'll say, I'll take $100. But it's out front because money is a defining factor in our relationship. And when people say it is not the money, it's the point, the money is the point. Don't be fooled. Okay, with collaborations, will royalties be split 50-50, 70-30, 60-40? Go in talking about it. One person, one of the writers, and one of the collaborators could write 3 or 4 chapters. The next writer could write 2 sections. The first writer would come back and write 7, but the other could do the revisions. Now, if you go into that partnership knowing all these things, remember you vetted this collaborator, and you vetted the collaborator because you saw some things in that writer that would go well with your writing. So if you've downloaded How to Write Stuff Better, you know that I just put up a website, and it's called How Not to Kill Each Other, a writer's guide to collaboration. Okay, that was quick. I hope you got something from it. But what do you remember? Who did Peter Straub collaborate with to write The Talisman? What book compelled President Nixon to resign? Having a plan will be instrumental in making sure of what? One can be the creative part while the other can be what? All right, so that was quick. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join me next week when we talk about securing and recovering from book reviews. Until next week, have a great week.